Have you ever wondered who the Buddha was before he became the Enlightened One? Long before his awakening under the Bodhi tree, he lived countless lives, sometimes as a gentle rabbit in the forest, sometimes as a wise king, other times as a humble human facing ordinary struggles. Each life carried a lesson in compassion, patience, generosity, and courage. These ancient stories, known as the Jataka Tales, have been told across Asia for more than 2,000 years, but they are more than just old fables. They are timeless mirrors of our own journey, reminding us that every act of kindness, every moment of courage, brings us closer to awakening. Tonight, let us step into these magical tales, not as distant history, but as soothing bedtime stories to calm the heart, relax the mind, and carry you gently into sleep. Part 1. Introduction to the Jataka Tales. Before we begin tonight's story, take a slow, deep breath. Let the air fill your chest, and then gently release it. Allow your body to soften. Feel the weight of the day melt away. Imagine yourself entering a quiet, safe space where time slows down, where your mind can drift into the gentle rhythm of ancient tales. Here, you are invited not only to rest, but also to connect with stories that have been told for over 2,000 years. Stories that whisper timeless wisdom in the softest of voices. These are the Jataka Tales. The word Jataka means birth. These stories are about the many births, or lives, of the Buddha before he became enlightened. Long before he was known as the Buddha, the Awakened One, he lived through hundreds of lifetimes as animals, kings, sages, and ordinary people. In each of these lives, he cultivated the qualities that would one day allow him to achieve perfect awakening under the Bodhi tree. Compassion, patience, honesty, selflessness, courage. These were not just abstract teachings, but living experiences practiced through the ups and downs of existence in ancient India. These stories were passed down by word of mouth. Families gathered in the evenings, monks shared them in temples, and travelers carried them across lands. They reached Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and beyond. Each culture painted these tales with its own colors, weaving them into art, poetry, and temple murals. And now, after thousands of years, they reach you here, tonight, in your own room. As you prepare to rest, what makes the Jataka Tales so special is not simply their age or their beauty, but the truth they hold. Each story reflects the struggles we all face, the desire to protect loved ones, the pain of loss, the temptation of greed, the longing for peace. The Buddha, in his past lives, faced the very same challenges we do. Sometimes he was strong, sometimes he failed, sometimes he sacrificed more than most of us could imagine. And yet, each story carries a light, a reminder that growth is possible, that wisdom can blossom even in the most difficult circumstances. Imagine, for a moment, the Buddha as a small hare living deep in the forest. He has little to offer but his own body. Yet when a hungry traveler comes, he chooses to give himself, leaping into the fire as an act of ultimate generosity. Or imagine him as a great monkey king who uses his body as a bridge so his tribe can escape danger, giving up his own life to protect the many. In another story, He is a wise prince who chooses truth over power, or a humble farmer who shows patience even when life seems unfair. These are not just myths. They are mirrors of human experience, and just like the fables of Aesop, which you may have heard as a child, these stories speak through animals and simple characters to reveal truths about the human heart. But while Aesop's fables often teach quick lessons about cleverness or caution, the Jataka Tales reach deeper. They guide us toward qualities that are not just useful for survival, but essential for awakening. Boundless compassion, infinite patience, unshakable truthfulness. As you listen tonight, think of these tales not as foreign or distant, but as gentle companions. They do not demand belief, nor do they preach. Instead, they open a quiet door inside you, a space where you can reflect on kindness, on courage, on the simple beauty of doing good without expecting reward. The Buddha himself used these stories to teach. When disciples gathered around him, struggling with jealousy, anger, or pride, he would say, "Let me tell you a story of a time long ago, when I too was caught in such struggles." And then he would recount a Jataka tale, showing that even he, the enlightened one, had once stumbled and learned through trial and error. In this way, the disciples felt comforted. They understood that growth takes time, that mistakes are part of the path, and that even small steps matter. Now, you may wonder why these tales are told as bedtime stories. The answer is simple. Bedtime is when the mind softens, when the defenses of the day fall away. It is a time when the heart is most open, when stories can sink deeply into our being. Listening to Jataka tales at night allows their wisdom to weave into our dreams, to calm our nervous system, and to remind us of what truly matters. In the stillness before sleep, compassion feels closer, patience feels possible, and truth feels like a quiet comfort. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself in an ancient forest, where monks once gathered under starlight to tell these tales. The air is cool, the fire flickers softly, and the night is filled with the gentle hum of insects. Around you, people listen intently, their hearts touched by the story of the Buddha's past lives. You are one of them now, sharing in a tradition that has lasted for centuries. The Jataka Tales are more than stories. They are practices in themselves. To listen is to meditate on compassion. To remember them is to water the seeds of goodness in your own heart. And to fall asleep with them is to let your subconscious rest in kindness and wisdom. As this series unfolds, you will hear of the Buddha as a rabbit, as a monkey, as a prince, as a sage. You will hear of sacrifices that bring tears, of courage that inspires strength, of love that transcends fear. Each story will be told slowly, softly, with space for your mind to wander and your body to relax. Some nights you may fall asleep before the story ends. That is perfectly fine. The words will continue their gentle work, like a lullaby for your spirit. Tonight, in this opening part, simply allow yourself to rest in the awareness that such stories exist, that they have traveled across lands and centuries to reach you. Imagine the countless people who have listened before you, from villagers in India to kings in ancient courts, from monks in quiet monasteries to children falling asleep under starry skies. You are part of this unbroken chain. The wisdom that carried them through life is now here to carry you into sleep. Take another slow breath. Notice the air entering, then leaving. With each breath, imagine yourself becoming lighter, more at ease. The Jataka Tales are like a gentle river. You are stepping into its waters, letting it carry you effortlessly. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go. Just listen and let the current guide you. As this introduction draws to a close, remember that these stories are gifts. They are not only about the Buddha's journey, but about yours. In every act of kindness, in every moment of honesty, you are walking the same path. The Jataka Tales are reminders that enlightenment is not far away. It begins here, in this life, in this moment, in the simplest choices you make. Now rest, knowing that tonight marks the beginning of a beautiful journey. Ahead lie tales of generosity, bravery, and love, each one waiting to cradle you into peace. Let go of the day. Let the ancient voices speak. Let the Jataka Tales carry you into dreams filled with light. Part 2. Why the Buddha lived many lifetimes before enlightenment. Before you drift deeper into tonight's story, let us pause and reflect on something extraordinary. The Buddha did not suddenly become enlightened in one lifetime. His awakening was not the result of a single meditation under the Bodhi tree, but the flowering of seeds that had been nurtured for countless ages. Imagine a tree that stands tall and strong. It did not appear in a single moment. It began as a tiny seed, watered by the rain, nourished by the soil, and strengthened by the winds of time. Only after seasons of growth could it reach upward and touch the sky. The Jataka Tales reveal this hidden journey. They remind us that before Siddhartha Gautama became the Buddha, he was a bodhisattva, being dedicated to perfecting himself for the benefit of all. He lived through hundreds, even thousands of lives, each one offering a chance to practice the virtues that would eventually blossom into full enlightenment. This long preparation shows us that spiritual growth is not instant. It is a gradual unfolding, like the slow blooming of a lotus on a still pond in each of his lives. The Bodhisattva practiced what are known as the paramitas, or perfections. These are qualities such as generosity, morality, patience, energy, meditation, and wisdom. They are not abstract ideas, but living practices. In one life, he might be born as a king who must learn generosity by giving away his wealth to his people. In another, he might be a humble farmer, learning patience as he tills the soil day after day. Sometimes he was an animal, learning compassion and courage in the face of danger. Through each birth, he carried forward the lessons of the last, shaping his heart and mind into something vast and unshakable. Why did he need so many lives? Because true enlightenment requires not only knowledge, but deep transformation. Imagine learning to play an instrument. You cannot master it in a single day. Your fingers must grow accustomed to the strings. Your ears must grow sensitive to the notes. Your heart must learn the rhythm. In the same way, the Bodhisattva needed lifetimes of practice to refine every aspect of his being. Think of generosity. It is easy to give when you have plenty, but what about when you have little? In one story, the Bodhisattva was a rabbit with almost nothing to his name. When a hungry traveler came, he offered his very body as food. In another life, as a wealthy king, he gave away treasures, palaces, and even his throne. Across lifetimes, he learned that true generosity is not about what you give, but the heart with which you give it. Or consider patience. We all know how difficult it can be to remain calm when life tests us. The Bodhisattva faced insults, betrayal, loss, and pain. Instead of responding with anger, he practiced patience. Over time, his patience grew into something vast, like the ocean that accepts every river without overflowing. By living through countless challenges, he transformed patience from a fragile seed into a strong and steady tree. And what of wisdom? Wisdom is not just knowledge, but the clear seeing of life as it truly is. In some lives, he sought teachers and sages. In others, he learned from simple experiences, watching the cycles of nature, listening to the cries of the world, observing the rise and fall of his own thoughts. Piece by piece, life by life, he built the wisdom that would one day allow him to see through all illusion and awaken fully. The Jataka Tales show us that the Bodhisattva's path was not easy. There were moments of great sacrifice when he gave his life for others. There were moments of sorrow when he endured suffering without complaint. There were even times of failure when his actions were imperfect and he had to learn from his mistakes. And yet, he never abandoned his vow. He walked steadily, patiently, with the determination of one who knows that every step, no matter how small, brings him closer to the goal. For us, these stories are comforting. They remind us that even the Buddha once struggled. Even he had to learn, to stumble, to grow over time. Enlightenment was not a gift handed to him, but something earned through effort, compassion, and perseverance. If the Buddha himself needed many lifetimes, then it is natural that we too may take time to grow. There is no need to rush. Each kind act, each patient breath, each moment of awareness is a step along the path. Let us imagine this journey together. Close your eyes, if they are not already closed. Picture a long road winding across hills and valleys, through forests and deserts, over oceans and mountains. On this road walks a traveler. Sometimes he is dressed as a king, sometimes as a beggar, sometimes as a bird or a beast. No matter the form, his steps are steady. In each life, he learns a little more, gives a little more, loves a little more. The road stretches far, but with each step, the light ahead grows brighter. This is the Bodhisattva's journey, and in listening, we are invited to see our own journey. We may not remember past lives, but within this life alone, we can feel the echo of many lessons. As children, we learned through play. As adults, we learn through work, relationships, and challenges. Each season of life is like a new birth, giving us fresh opportunities to practice compassion, patience, and wisdom. In this way, we too are walking a path, step by step, toward greater clarity and peace. The idea of many lifetimes may feel distant to some, but whether or not you believe in rebirth, the heart of these stories remains true. Growth takes time. Character is built through practice. Wisdom ripens slowly. Even in one lifetime, we can see this truth. A child does not become wise overnight. A skill is not mastered instantly. Love itself deepens through years of giving and forgiving. In this way, the Jataka Tales are universal. They speak to the human experience of growth, reminding us to be patient with ourselves and others. As you rest tonight, let this thought bring you comfort. You do not need to be perfect right away. Just as the Bodhisattva needed many lives, you are allowed to take your time. Each mistake is not a failure, but part of the journey. Each challenge is not a punishment, but an opportunity to grow. Every act of kindness matters, no matter how small. In this way, you too are cultivating the seeds of awakening, the Buddhas. Many lives before enlightenment also revealed the depth of his love for all beings. Why endure so many trials? Why make such sacrifices? Because his goal was not only his own awakening, but the liberation of all. His compassion was vast, like a sky without end. Each life he lived was dedicated to others, to protect, to guide, to inspire. This is why the Jataka Tales are so moving. They are not stories of selfish ambition, but of selfless love. Tonight, as you prepare to sleep, imagine this compassion wrapping around you like a soft blanket. The Bodhisattva's journey is not just his, it is also yours. The same qualities he practiced, generosity, patience, wisdom, are alive within you. Perhaps they are small now, like seeds, but with time and care, they will grow. Just as he became the Buddha, you too can awaken to your own true nature. Let go of the worries of the day. Let the rhythm of your breath carry you deeper into stillness. Remember that growth is slow but steady. Trust in the process, as the Bodhisattva did across countless lives. With each breath, you are practicing patience. With each kind thought, you are practicing compassion. With each moment of awareness, you are practicing wisdom. And as you drift toward sleep, know that you are walking the same timeless path. The road may be long, but you are not alone. The Jataka Tales are here to guide you, to remind you, to comfort you. They whisper softly, enlightenment is possible, but there is no need to hurry. Rest now, and let the seeds of awakening rest within you. Part 3. The many forms the Buddha took as you settle deeper into your place of rest. Let your breathing become slow and gentle. Each inhale fills you with calm. Each exhale releases the weight of the day. Your body grows lighter, your mind softer, ready to travel into the world of stories. Tonight, let us wander together into the many forms the Buddha took before his enlightenment. In the Jataka Tales, the Bodhisattva does not always appear as the figure we often imagine, a serene monk seated under a tree. Instead, he moves through countless forms, each one perfectly suited to the lesson he needed to learn and the virtue he wished to practice. Sometimes he is human, sometimes he is animal, sometimes he is king, sometimes he is beggar. Each form is like a costume in the great theater of existence, allowing him to explore life from every angle and every level of being. One of the most beloved tales tells of the Bodhisattva as a rabbit. In this life, he lived peacefully in the forest with his animal friends. When a hungry traveler arrived, weak and near collapse, the rabbit saw that he had nothing to give. No grain, no fruit, no shelter. His only possession was his own body. Out of pure generosity, he leaped into the fire to feed the stranger. This story is told across Asia, painted on temple walls, carved into stone, whispered into the ears of children. The lesson is simple but profound. True generosity asks for nothing in return, not even life itself. In another life, the Bodhisattva was born as a great monkey king. His tribe lived in the trees along the river, happy and free, until a human king sought to capture them. To save his people, the monkey king stretched his body across the river, forming a living bridge so the others could escape. His body broke under the strain, but his sacrifice ensured the safety of his tribe. Here the Bodhisattva learned leadership and selfless courage, showing that the greatest ruler is not one who clings to power, but one who gives his life for the welfare of many. Not all forms were grand or heroic. In some stories, he was a simple bird. In one tale, a tiny quail discovered that a forest fire threatened her nest and chicks. With no other option, she dipped her wings in water and fluttered back and forth, dropping tiny droplets onto the flames. Though her efforts seemed hopeless, she persisted with fierce determination. Seeing her bravery, the gods sent rain to extinguish the fire. This story reminds us that even the smallest creature, acting with courage, can call forth great change. In human form, the Bodhisattva experienced every corner of society. Sometimes he was a prince, raised in luxury, learning to give away riches and rule with compassion. Other times he was poor, working the land, learning patience and humility. He was a wise judge who chose fairness over pride, a loyal friend who sacrificed comfort for love, a dutiful son who honored his parents, a wandering sage who sought truth in the wilderness. Each role taught him something new. Each form was a classroom, each life a lesson. Imagine for a moment being able to live in so many different skins, to feel the strength of a lion, the gentleness of a deer, the cunning of a fox, the innocence of a child, the authority of a king, the struggles of a worker. Through these many lives, the Bodhisattva came to understand existence in its fullness. He felt the joy of abundance and the sting of poverty, the honor of power and the vulnerability of weakness. Because he lived it all, his compassion grew vast, embracing every living being without exception. In some tales, the Bodhisattva was not even male. He was born as a princess or a mother, learning the strength of nurturing love, the patience of care, the sacrifice of protecting a family. These stories remind us that wisdom is not bound by gender, and that the path to enlightenment honors all experiences of life. Each form also revealed the impermanence of existence. As an animal, he might die young. As a king, his reign might end suddenly. As a farmer, his crops might fail. Through these experiences, he saw clearly that nothing in life is permanent. Power fades, beauty changes, wealth disappears, life itself is fragile. And yet, within this impermanence lies the chance to practice virtue, to love deeply, to act wisely. The many forms of the Bodhisattva also reveal a truth about our own lives. We too wear many faces over the course of time. As children, we are playful and curious. As adults, we carry responsibility. At times, we may feel strong, at other times, vulnerable. We may be students, workers, parents, leaders, or friends. Each role gives us a chance to practice kindness, patience, and honesty. In this way, our own lives are like small Jataka tales, unfolding day by day. Picture yourself now as part of this great cycle. Imagine, for a moment, being a small bird, wings spread against the wind, learning trust in the vast sky. Then shift and imagine being a parent, holding a child close, learning love without condition. Then imagine being a leader, guiding others with fairness, learning the weight of responsibility. Each vision is brief, like a dream, yet each one carries a lesson for the heart. The Bodhisattva's journey through many forms is not about becoming someone else, but about discovering the unity of all life. By living as animal, human, and king, he saw that suffering is shared, that joy is universal, that every being longs for peace. His compassion grew because he no longer saw separation, only connection. And so, when he finally became the Buddha, his heart embraced the entire world. As you listen, let these images drift through your mind like soft clouds. The rabbit leaping into fire, the monkey king bridging the river, the tiny bird fluttering against flames, the wise judge choosing truth, the mother protecting her child. Each story is like a lullaby, gentle and calming, yet filled with meaning. You do not need to remember every detail. Simply let the feelings wash over you. Generosity, courage, patience, love. These are the qualities that guide us, just as they guided him. And so, as you sink deeper into rest, reflect for a moment on the forms of your own life. Who have you been today? A worker, a friend, a parent, a dreamer. What lessons did you meet? What kindness did you practice? What patience did you learn? Just as the Bodhisattva grew through his many forms, so too do you grow through yours. Let your breath be your guide now. Inhale and imagine filling your body with calm. Exhale and release all tension. With each breath, feel yourself moving through your own journey, your own forms, your own stories. The Jataka Tales remind us that every life, every role, every moment is part of the great path toward awakening. Rest in this truth. You are part of the same journey. Your life, with all its ups and downs, is a sacred story unfolding. The many forms of the Bodhisattva are not far away. They live in you, in your choices, in your heart. And now, as your eyes grow heavy, let the stories cradle you into sleep. Trust that, like the Buddha, you too are learning, growing, awakening step by step, life by life, breath by breath. Part 4. The central virtues the Buddha practiced as you rest deeper into stillness. Let your mind become like a calm lake, smooth and untroubled. Tonight, we journey further into the heart of the Jataka Tales, into the virtues that the Bodhisattva who would one day become the Buddha cultivated across countless lifetimes. These virtues, called parameters or perfections, are like shining stars that guided him through the darkness of ignorance and suffering, until at last he awakened beneath the Bodhi tree. The first of these virtues is generosity. In life after life, the Bodhisattva gave freely, not just from his wealth, but from his very being. In one story, he offered food and shelter to travelers, even when he himself had little. In another, he gave away his throne, choosing the well-being of his people over his own comfort. As a rabbit, he gave even his life, leaping into fire to feed a hungry stranger. These stories remind us that generosity is not measured by the size of the gift, but by the openness of the heart. To give without expecting reward is to plant seeds of joy, both in the giver and the receiver. The second virtue is morality, or living with integrity. The Bodhisattva's lives were guided by a deep respect for truth and fairness. As a wise judge, he listened carefully to disputes, choosing justice even when it brought him no personal gain. As a king, he ruled with honesty, valuing the welfare of his people above power or ambition. Through these lives, he discovered that morality is not a heavy chain, but a source of freedom. To live with integrity is to live without regret, to rest each night with a clear mind and a peaceful heart. The third virtue is patience. Few qualities are as challenging, and yet few are as powerful. In one story, the Bodhisattva was insulted and mistreated, yet he bore it with calm, refusing to let anger poison his heart. In another, he endured long years of hardship, waiting with quiet strength for the right time to act. Patience is not passive. It is active strength. Like a mountain that stands unshaken through storms, patience allows us to meet life's difficulties with dignity. The Bodhisattva's patience grew through every challenge, preparing him to meet suffering with compassion rather than anger. The fourth virtue is energy or effort. Across lifetimes, the Bodhisattva never gave up. Even when progress seemed slow, even when the path was long, he continued to practice, to learn, to grow. As a tiny bird carrying drops of water to fight a raging fire, he showed that determination can move mountains. His energy was steady, not frantic, consistent, unwavering commitment to goodness. In our own lives, energy means showing up again and again, choosing kindness, choosing truth, choosing wisdom, even in small moments. The fifth virtue is meditation, the practice of calming the mind and seeing clearly. In some lives, the Bodhisattva withdrew into forests, sitting beneath trees, watching the rise and fall of his breath. In others, he practiced mindfulness in daily tasks, walking, working, speaking with awareness. Meditation gave him the strength to see beyond the surface of life, to notice the patterns of desire and fear, to discover peace in stillness. Through meditation, the mind becomes like a clear mirror, reflecting truth without distortion. The sixth virtue is wisdom. This is the crown of all virtues, the deep understanding of reality. Wisdom is not mere knowledge of facts, but the insight into the impermanence of all things, the interconnection of all beings, and the emptiness of selfish desire. In lifetime after lifetime, the Bodhisattva grew in wisdom, learning from nature, from people, from his own experiences. Wisdom guided his compassion, teaching him when to act, when to wait, when to sacrifice, and when to let go. Together, these virtues formed the foundation of his path. Generosity opened his heart. Morality gave him direction. Patience steadied him. Energy carried him forward. Meditation calmed his mind. Wisdom lit his way. Each virtue supported the others, like spokes of a wheel turning together, moving him steadily toward enlightenment. What is most inspiring is that these virtues were not practiced in grand temples or under special conditions. They were practiced in the ordinary moments of many lives. As an animal, he practiced compassion. As a ruler, he practiced fairness. As a worker, he practiced patience. As a wanderer, he practiced meditation. The path was not separate from life. The path was life itself, and so it is with us. Each day offers opportunities to cultivate these same virtues. When we share what we have, we practice generosity. When we choose honesty, we practice morality. When we wait without anger, we practice patience. When we rise each day with courage, we practice energy. When we pause to breathe and observe, we practice meditation. When we learn from life with humility, we practice wisdom. The Jataka Tales remind us that enlightenment is not reserved for saints or sages. It grows from simple actions, repeated over time. A smile given to a stranger, a kind word spoken, a moment of restraint, a breath of awareness, all are steps along the path. As you listen now, let these virtues sink into your heart like gentle rain soaking the earth. You do not need to force them. Simply let the stories water the seeds within you. Over time, those seeds will sprout and grow. Just as the Bodhisattva became the Buddha through practice, so too can we grow in compassion and wisdom through small acts of goodness. Close your eyes and imagine the Bodhisattva walking through lifetimes. In one life, he offers food to the hungry. In another, he forgives an insult. In another, he sits quietly, breathing, watching the stars. Each act is small, yet together they create a vast ocean of virtue. The waves of his practice ripple across time, reaching us here, tonight, in the quiet of our own hearts. Feel the calm of this truth. You are already on the path. With every breath, you are practicing patience. With every choice, you are shaping your character. With every act of kindness, you are cultivating the same virtues that carried the Bodhisattva to enlightenment. Let go now of striving. Let go of judgment. Rest in the knowledge that growth is possible, that goodness is within you, that the virtues of the Bodhisattva can become your own. Allow the rhythm of your breath to carry you deeper into peace, like a gentle boat drifting on a still lake. As you drift towards sleep, let generosity, morality, patience, energy, meditation, and wisdom become your companions. They will walk beside you, guide you, and comfort you. Just as they guided the Bodhisattva through countless lives, they will guide you through the journey of your own. Part 5. Jataka Tales and their moral lessons. Your body rests more deeply, and your breath flows like a quiet stream. Let us now explore how the Jataka Tales carry moral lessons, lessons that speak not only to monks and scholars, but to anyone who listens with an open heart. These stories are not simply ancient folklore. They are teachings woven into narrative, simple on the surface, yet profound in their depth. In many ways, the Jataka Tales are similar to the Fables of Aesop, which have been told for centuries in the Western world. Perhaps you remember hearing of the tortoise and the hare, or the lion and the mouse. In these stories, animals act like humans, and through their adventures, we learn lessons about humility, kindness, or the value of perseverance. They are short, memorable, and easy to carry in the mind. The Jataka Tales, too, often feature animals and simple characters. The Buddha, in his past lives, appeared as rabbits, monkeys, birds, lions, and deer. By stepping into these forms, he made wisdom approachable, just as children can learn from a clever fox in a fable. Listeners of the Jataka can see virtue shining through the actions of a humble animal. And yet, while the style is familiar, the spirit of these tales reaches further. They are not only about being clever or avoiding mistakes. They are about cultivating compassion that has no limit, patience that has no end, and wisdom that leads to freedom. Imagine the tale of the Monkey King once more. In a Western fable, a story of animals and rulers might end with a quick moral. Perhaps that pride leads to downfall, or that unity creates strength. In the Jataka version, however, the lesson expands. The Monkey King does not act out of fear or self-preservation. He sacrifices his life so that others may live. The moral here is not simply about strategy or cleverness, but about the boundless depth of selfless love. This love, carried through lifetimes, would eventually blossom into enlightenment. In another story, the Bodhisattva as a deer protects his herd from hunters. Rather than using cunning to escape, he approaches the human with compassion, offering himself so that others may be spared. The hunter, moved by such nobility, lays down his bow. The moral here is clear. Compassion has the power to transform even the hardest of hearts. This is not a quick lesson about survival, but a reminder that kindness itself can change the world. These differences matter. They show us why the Jataka Tales have lasted for centuries, cherished by monks, kings, villagers, and children alike. They are not only practical advice for life, but spiritual guidance for the soul. They point us toward the virtues that transcend ordinary concerns: generosity instead of greed, patience instead of anger, wisdom instead of ignorance. It is easy, in the rush of modern life, to forget these values. We are taught to succeed, to win, to outsmart others. Yet the Jataka Tales gently remind us that true success lies not in victory over others, but in victory over ourselves, over our selfishness, our impatience, our pride. When we hear of the Bodhisattva giving freely, we are reminded to open our hands. When we hear of him forgiving, we are encouraged to soften our hearts. When we hear of his long journey across lifetimes, we understand that growth takes time. Think again of the quail who carried drops of water to fight the fire. A Western fable might celebrate her persistence, showing that small efforts add up to big results. The Jataka, however, deepens the lesson. It reminds us that even when the task seems hopeless, compassion and courage themselves are noble. The gods send rain not only because of her persistence, but because of her purity of intention. Here we see a lesson about faith in goodness itself, beyond immediate results. The Jataka Tales also mirror our own daily struggles. They remind us that even the Buddha faced temptation, fear, and sorrow. He was not always victorious. Sometimes he stumbled, but in each story he learned, he grew, and he tried again. For us, this is a gentle comfort. We do not need to be perfect. We only need to keep walking, keep practicing, keep turning toward kindness, even when it is hard. Consider how these stories would be told at night in ancient villages. Families gathered after work, children leaned close, and elders recited the tale of a bodhisattva who once lived as an elephant, protecting the weak, or as a prince who chose truth over wealth. Each listener heard the story in their own way. A child might hear it as an exciting adventure. An elder might hear it as wisdom for life. A monk might hear it as a teaching on the path. But all would feel the same gentle message. Goodness is possible, compassion is powerful, and wisdom is near. When we compare the Jataka Tales with fables from around the world, we see a universal truth. Human beings everywhere long for guidance, for stories that teach us how to live. Yet the Jataka adds something unique. It connects every story to the great journey of enlightenment. Each tale is a thread in a vast tapestry, showing how the Buddha prepared himself, life after life, for awakening. The listener is invited not only to admire the story, but to walk the same path, to practice the same virtues in their own small ways as you lie here. Perhaps you can think of moments in your own life that echo these lessons. Have you ever given something precious to help another? Have you ever been patient when anger called you to speak harshly? Have you ever forgiven when you could have held on to resentment? In those moments, you were practicing the same virtues that fill the Jataka Tales. You were living your own fable, your own small story of compassion and wisdom. Let this thought be a comfort as you rest. You do not need to travel through hundreds of lifetimes to practice virtue. You can practice it here, tonight, in the quiet of your own heart. By wishing happiness for others, you practice generosity. By choosing kindness, you practice compassion. By forgiving yourself for mistakes, you practice patience. In this way, the wisdom of the Jataka becomes alive, not only in ancient temples, but in your very breath. Now, allow the images of these stories to flow softly through your imagination. Picture the rabbit glowing with courage as he leaps into the fire. Picture the Monkey King stretched across the river, his body forming a bridge of love. Picture the little quail fluttering against the flames, her determination sparking divine rain. Each image is gentle, each one a lullaby of virtue. Let them float in your mind like drifting clouds, carrying you further into peace. The moral lessons of the Jataka are not heavy burdens. They are gentle guides, whispering to us in the language of story. They do not scold. They inspire. They do not demand. They invite. They do not tell us what we must do, but remind us of what we already know deep inside. That kindness feels right. That patience brings peace. That truth heals. And that love is the greatest strength of all. As you breathe, let these truths sink deeper. Imagine them as seeds planted in the soil of your heart. With each breath, water them. With each night of rest, let them grow. Over time, they will blossom into flowers of compassion and wisdom, lighting your path just as they once lit the path of the Bodhisattva. Rest now, knowing that the moral lessons of the Jataka Tales are with you. They are not far away. They live in your choices, your thoughts, your dreams. Tonight, they whisper gently, calming your heart, easing your mind, and guiding you into a sleep filled with peace. Part 6. The purpose of the Jataka Tales. As you continue to rest, your breath flowing like a soft tide, let us now turn to the question, why were the Jataka Tales told? Why have people carried them for centuries, whispering them in temples, singing them in villages, painting them on walls, and retelling them across cultures and lands? The answer begins with a simple truth. Human beings learn through stories. Facts may inform the mind, but stories touch the heart. A single tale can linger in memory for years, shaping how we think, how we act, how we live. The Jataka Tales are not just stories for entertainment. They are teachings in disguise, gentle lessons hidden in the folds of narrative, waiting to unfold within us. When disciples gathered around the historical Buddha, sometimes they struggled. They fought among themselves, grew jealous, or lost patience. In those moments, the Buddha did not always respond with long lectures. Instead, he often told a Jataka tale. He would say, "Long ago, in a life before this one, I too faced such challenges." He would describe a time when he, as a rabbit, learned generosity, or when he, as a king, practiced fairness. His disciples listened, and through the story they found guidance. They saw that even the Buddha had once wrestled with the same emotions. They realized that growth takes time and practice. The purpose of the Jataka Tales, then, is encouragement. They remind us that change is possible. No matter how impatient we are, no matter how often we fail, we can always take another step toward wisdom. If the Buddha himself needed many lives to perfect compassion, then surely we can be gentle with ourselves as we practice it in this one. Another purpose is to show that virtue is not separate from ordinary life. We may think of enlightenment as something far away, something for monks in monasteries or sages in distant lands. Yet the Jataka Tales reveal that every situation, no matter how simple, can be a path. Feeding the hungry, protecting the weak, speaking honestly, forgiving an insult, these are all moments of practice. The Bodhisattva's journey shows us that enlightenment is built not in a single grand act, but in countless small choices of goodness. The stories also bridge cultures and generations. In ancient times, children in villages would fall asleep to the Jataka, while monks studied them in detail and kings reflected on them as guides for ruling. Each person found meaning at their own level, For a child, the rabbit in the fire is a tale of bravery. For a monk, it is a lesson in the perfection of generosity. For a king, it is a reminder that true leadership is service. This is why the tales have survived. They speak to everyone. Another purpose lies in their emotional power. The Jataka Tales stir our feelings. We may feel sadness at a sacrifice, admiration at an act of patience, or joy at a gesture of kindness. These emotions are not distractions. They are part of the teaching. By feeling compassion for the characters, we train our own hearts in compassion. By admiring patience, we awaken patience in ourselves. The tales bypass logic and reach straight into the heart, planting seeds of virtue where they can grow naturally. The Jataka Tales also remind us of interconnectedness. In them, the Bodhisattva appears as animals, humans, kings, and peasants. He does not cling to one identity. This teaches us that all forms of life are valuable. All beings deserve compassion. Whether rabbit or lion, rich or poor, each life carries meaning. By listening to these tales, we too can feel our circle of care expand, embracing not only friends and family, but strangers, animals, and even the smallest of creatures. For those who believe in rebirth, the Jataka Tales also illustrate the long arc of karma. They show that actions matter, that goodness carries forward, that the seeds we plant in one life bear fruit in another. For those who do not hold such beliefs, the lessons are still clear. Our actions shape our future, our character shapes our destiny, and every moment offers a chance to choose kindness. Now, imagine yourself in ancient India, long before books or screens. The evening air is warm. Families gather under the glow of lanterns. A storyteller begins to recite. Children lean forward, eyes wide. Elders nod in recognition. The tale flows like a river of a prince who gave away his kingdom, of a deer who saved a hunter, of a bird who fought fire with tiny wings. The listeners laugh, gasp, even weep. When the story ends, silence lingers, heavy with meaning. Each person carries the tale home in their heart, to reflect on, to dream about, to live by. This is the true purpose of the Jataka Tales, to live within us, to guide us quietly, like a compass pointing toward kindness. For modern listeners, especially those hearing these tales at bedtime, the purpose is also rest. Our minds are often filled with noise, worries, plans, regrets. The gentle rhythm of a Jataka tale soothes this noise. The images are simple yet rich. Forests, rivers, animals, kings. The morals are clear yet profound. Be kind, be patient, be truthful. As we listen, the stories work like a lullaby for the spirit, calming the restless mind and opening the heart. They prepare us not only for sleep, but for waking with a softer, kinder outlook. Think of the Jataka Tales as lanterns. In the darkness of night, a lantern glows softly, guiding the way. It does not blind with brilliance. It comforts with warmth. Each tale is such a lantern. When we feel lost, they remind us of direction. When we feel weary, they offer rest. When we feel despair, they whisper hope. This is their purpose, to illuminate gently, without force, without demand, and perhaps their greatest purpose is inspiration. The Bodhisattva's journey shows us that enlightenment is possible, not only for him, but for us. We may not become Buddhas in this lifetime, but we can live with more compassion, more patience, more wisdom. The stories inspire us to see that our choices matter, that goodness is worth practicing, that love is stronger than fear. As you rest now, let this thought comfort you. You are part of the same story. The Jataka Tales are not just about the past. They are about you. Each time you choose kindness, you are living a modern joy. Each time you forgive, you are writing a new tale. Each time you sit quietly, breathing with awareness, you are walking the same path. The purpose of the Jataka Tales is not only to tell what the Buddha did, but to remind us of what we can do. Let your breath be gentle. Let your body relax. Let the purpose of these tales sink into you, not as instructions, but as gentle reminders. They are not here to judge you. They are here to accompany you. Tonight, as you drift toward dreams, imagine the Bodhisattva walking beside you, steady and kind, whispering the same lessons he practiced across lifetimes. Be generous, be patient, be wise, and with that, allow yourself to rest, knowing that the stories have done their work. Their purpose is already fulfilled, softening your heart, calming your mind, and guiding you into peaceful sleep. Part 7. The Journey of the Jataka Tales across Aesop. Another soft, slow breath. Feel your body relax, your mind ease into stillness. Tonight, let us travel gently across time and space, following the path of the Jataka Tales as they moved from one culture to another, weaving themselves into the fabric of Asia's history, art, and daily life. The Jataka Tales began in India more than 2,000 years ago. There, monks preserved them as part of the Buddhist scriptures. They were recited in monasteries, chanted in verses, and painted onto the walls of ancient stupas. Imagine a great dome-shaped monument, silent and still under the sky. Its walls carved with delicate scenes of animals, kings, and forests. These were the Jataka stories told, not with words, but with stone silent teachers for anyone who came to meditate or pray. As Buddhism spread beyond India, the tales traveled to. They crossed oceans and mountains, carried by monks and pilgrims, traders and travelers. Each land they reached welcomed them like old friends, shaping them with local colors, blending them with native traditions, and passing them to new generations. In Sri Lanka, the Jataka became part of temple life. For centuries, monks recited the tales during festivals, their voices rising and falling like waves. Families gathered to listen, children resting their heads on their mothers' laps, elders nodding thoughtfully at the familiar lessons. The island's artists painted vivid murals of these stories on temple walls, their colors glowing in the flickering light of oil lamps. Even today, in villages across Sri Lanka, the Jataka continues to live, not as dusty history, but as living guidance for daily life. From Sri Lanka, the stories spread to Myanmar. There, they became known as Zatdor, treasured as both religious teaching and cultural heritage. In Burmese temples, entire halls were decorated with Jataka scenes. Imagine walking into such a hall, walls filled with paintings of the rabbit's sacrifice, the Monkey King's bridge, the quail's courage. Each image was a silent sermon, reminding visitors that compassion and wisdom are timeless virtues. During festivals, actors performed the Jataka on open-air stages, turning sacred teachings into lively plays that drew entire villages together. Traveling further east, the Jataka Tales blossomed in Thailand. There, they were known as Chat. For generations, monks told these stories during long nights of chanting. Artists carved them into the wooden doors of temples, painted them onto murals, and even incorporated them into royal ceremonies. Thai kings listened to the Jataka as guides for righteous rule, seeing in the Bodhisattvas' sacrifices a model for their own leadership. In Buddhist schools, children learned the stories by heart, carrying them like lanterns into adulthood. Even today, Thai culture celebrates the Vasantara, one of the most famous tales, through elaborate festivals that last days, filled with music, chanting, and offerings. The tales also reached Laos and Cambodia, where they became woven into the rhythm of village life. In Laos, villagers would gather in temples to listen to monks tell the Jataka during annual ceremonies. The stories were not only spiritual lessons, but also moments of community, bringing people together in shared reflection. In Cambodia, the walls of Angkor Wat, one of the most magnificent temples in the world, are carved with Jataka scenes. These stone carvings, centuries old, still whisper their stories to visitors who walk slowly through the temple's shaded corridors. In Vietnam, too, the influence of the Jataka can be seen in folk stories and Buddhist traditions. Though shaped by local culture and history, the essence remains the same. Stories of compassion, patience, sacrifice, and wisdom, told to guide the heart and soothe the mind. As the Jataka tales spread, they did not remain frozen. Each culture adapted them, sometimes changing details, sometimes blending them with local myths. A rabbit in India might become a hare in Thailand. A monkey king in Myanmar might resemble local rulers. A prince in Sri Lanka might wear the robes of that land. Yet the essence, the virtues of generosity, patience, truth, and love remained unchanged. This adaptability is part of their beauty. Like water poured into different vessels, the tales took the shape of each culture, yet still quenched the same thirst for wisdom. What is striking is how deeply these stories shaped not only religion, but also art, architecture, and daily life. In temples, they appeared as paintings, carvings, and sculptures. In festivals, they were sung, acted, and danced. In families, they were whispered to children before sleep. In courts, they guided kings. In villages, they bound communities together. The Jataka tales were not confined to books or scrolls. They lived in the hearts of people. Imagine for a moment walking through Asia centuries ago. In India, you might hear monks chanting a Jataka in the cool halls of a monastery. In Sri Lanka, you might see children gathered around a storyteller in a village square. In Myanmar, you might witness a grand festival play with actors dressed as animals and kings. In Thailand, you might sit through an all-night recitation of the Vesantara Jataka, the air filled with incense and the glow of candles. In Cambodia, you might wander through Angkor Wat, tracing the carved figures of Jataka heroes with your fingertips. In each place, the stories are alive, echoing through time. Their journey across Asia also shows us something profound. Wisdom is universal. Though the details changed, every culture embraced the message. Compassion, patience, generosity, truth, these are values that belong to all humanity. The Jataka Tales remind us that goodness has no borders. They connect us across languages and lands, across centuries and traditions, and now they reach you here, tonight, wherever you are in the world. Just as they once traveled by foot, by ship, by memory, and by voice, they now travel through sound, carried gently into your ears as you prepare for rest. You are part of the same great journey. The stories that comforted villagers in India, inspired kings in Thailand, and guided monks in Sri Lanka are now here, guiding you to dot as you listen. Let yourself feel this connection. You are not alone. You are part of a chain stretching across time and space. Thousands of people across centuries have listened to these same tales, found comfort in them, and fallen asleep with their wisdom in their hearts. Tonight, you join them. Breathe softly. Imagine the Bodhisattva in his many forms: rabbit, monkey, quail, king, moving across lands, across cultures, across lives. Imagine the storytellers who carried his tales, the listeners who received them, the artists who painted them, the builders who carved them. All of them, like you, were seeking wisdom, seeking peace, seeking rest. This is the journey of the Jataka Tales, from India's forests to Asia's temples, from stone carvings to bedtime whispers, from ancient voices to your ears tonight. Their path is long, their message is timeless. Their purpose is gentle, to remind us that compassion, patience, and wisdom are the true treasures of life. As your body grows heavy and your mind drifts toward dreams, let yourself be carried by this long tradition. Feel the presence of countless others who, like you, listened to these tales at night. Rest in the comfort of connection, in the peace of timeless wisdom, in the gentle embrace of stories that have crossed oceans and centuries to reach you. Part 8. Why the Jataka Tales make perfect bedtime. Dharma. As the night deepens and your breath grows softer, let us reflect on why the Jataka Tales are such perfect companions for bedtime. At first, they may seem like ancient stories, preserved in scriptures and painted on temple walls. Yet when told slowly, gently, in the quiet hours of the evening, they become more than history. They become medicine for the restless mind, a balm for the heart, and a guide toward peaceful sleep. The mind at night is different from the mind during the day. In daylight, we are busy, pulled in many directions, chasing tasks, solving problems, answering questions. Our thoughts are sharp and restless. But at night, when the body grows tired and the world quiets, the mind begins to soften. It drifts more easily into imagination, into memory, into dream. This is why stories, especially gentle ones, are so powerful before sleep. They meet the mind in its softest state, guiding it away from worries and toward peace. The Jataka Tales are perfect for this moment because they are simple yet profound. The characters are clear: a rabbit, a monkey, a king, a bird. The images are vivid: a forest fire, a river, a throne, a quiet hut. These images are easy to picture, easy to follow, even as drowsiness begins to wash over you. Unlike complex tales with twists and puzzles, the Jataka flows gently, allowing you to relax without effort. You do not need to struggle to understand. The story carries you like a boat drifting on calm waters. At the same time, the lessons of the Jataka give comfort. Many people lie awake at night, their minds racing with regrets of the past or anxieties for the future. The tales answer these worries, not with commands, but with examples. They remind us that even the Buddha struggled and failed. He too faced fear, temptation, and loss. Yet through patience, kindness, and courage, he found his way. This is deeply reassuring. If he could grow through challenges, then we can too. If he could rest in compassion despite suffering, then perhaps we can soften our hearts as well. Another reason the Jataka works so well as bedtime Dharma is its emotional tone. The stories are not harsh. They do not demand or scold. Instead, they invite and inspire. Listening to them feels like being wrapped in a blanket of kindness. The lessons come not as heavy burdens, but as gentle reminders. Be kind, be patient, be true. These reminders settle into the subconscious as we drift into sleep, shaping our dreams and softening our hearts. Think of the story of the little quail who faced the fire with tiny wings. Her courage may sound small, but it is unforgettable. As you drift towards sleep, you may not remember every detail of the tale, but the feeling remains. Even the smallest act of courage matters. Or think of the rabbit who gave his life to feed a stranger. The image is tender, sad, but also uplifting. It reminds us of the beauty of generosity. As we close our eyes, such images linger like gentle echoes, calming the mind and inspiring the soul. Bedtime is also a sacred time. It is the threshold between the waking world and the dream world, between the day that has ended and the day that has not yet begun. What we feed the mind at this threshold matters. Harsh news, loud entertainment, or restless thoughts can disturb our sleep, leaving us uneasy. But gentle stories, filled with compassion and wisdom, can guide us into rest that is deep and nourishing. The Jataka Tales serve as lanterns at this threshold, lighting the way into peaceful dreams. There is also a rhythm to these stories that suits the rhythm of sleep. Told slowly, with pauses, the words become like a lullaby. The listener's breath naturally synchronizes with the flow of the story. The rise and fall of the voice becomes like waves against the shore, steady and soothing. Before long, the listener may find themselves drifting not because they are bored, but because they feel safe. The story has become a soft hand leading them into slumber. The Jataka Tales also touch the deeper layers of the mind. Even when we sleep, our subconscious is listening. It absorbs the images, the morals, the feelings of the story. To fall asleep with tales of compassion is to plant seeds of compassion in the heart. To dream with patience in mind is to wake with patience in the morning. In this way, bedtime storytelling becomes not only rest, but practice. It is a quiet form of meditation, a gentle way to shape the mind toward goodness. In ancient times, many cultures used bedtime stories not only to entertain children, but to teach values. Parents told tales of bravery to inspire courage, tales of kindness to nurture empathy, tales of wisdom to guide choices. The Jataka Tales fit perfectly into this tradition, but with an added depth. They are part of the great path of awakening. They are not only moral stories, but steps on the journey to enlightenment. Listening to them before sleep connects us, even unconsciously, to that path. Imagine yourself lying in a quiet forest, under a sky filled with stars. Around you, monks sit in silence, their voices softly chanting a japa. The air is cool, the night is calm, the story flows like a river of sound. You close your eyes, listening. The images float in your mind, but you do not cling to them. You drift, carried by the rhythm of the words, into a dream where compassion is alive, where patience is real, where wisdom shines like moonlight. This is the gift of the Jataka at bedtime, a bridge between story and sleep, between wisdom and rest. Another reason these tales are so fitting for bedtime is their balance of sadness and hope. Many Jataka stories involve sacrifice. The Bodhisattva gives up his life, his wealth, his power. At first, these moments may sound heavy, yet they are told not to sadden, but to uplift. The sacrifice is always for love, for compassion, for the greater good. The listener is left not with despair, but with inspiration. This emotional tone is perfect for sleep. It allows the heart to feel deeply, but then to rest in peace, knowing that goodness is possible. In our modern world, many people struggle to sleep because of overstimulation. Screens, noise, and stress keep the mind buzzing. The Jataka Tales offer the opposite. They are simple, slow, quiet. They invite stillness. They encourage letting go. Instead of fueling the mind, they soothe it. This is why they are so effective as bedtime doctors. They meet our restless modern minds with ancient calm. As you lie here listening, notice how the story itself is guiding you into rest. The words are soft, the images are gentle, the lessons are kind. You do not need to remember every detail. You do not need to analyze or understand. Simply let the stories wash over you, like waves lapping the shore. Their purpose is not to fill your mind, but to empty it of worry, leaving space for peace. So when you ask why the Jataka Tales make perfect bedtime Dharma, the answer is simple. They are timeless, gentle, and full of love. They calm the restless mind, soothe the anxious heart, and plant seeds of compassion in the soil of the soul. They connect us to something larger than ourselves, yet comfort us in the smallest details. They are bridges into sleep, carrying us on the wings of story into the quiet world of dreams. Rest now, knowing that you are listening to the same tales that comforted children, inspired monks, and guided kings for centuries. You are part of this unbroken tradition. Tonight, The Jataka Tales are here for you, whispering softly, carrying you into sleep, holding you in compassion, guiding you in peace. Part 9. What to expect in this series. As your body lies still and your mind drifts like a leaf on water, let me share with you what awaits in this series of Jataka Tales. Think of this as a journey we will take together, step by gentle step, through the many lives of the Buddha before his enlightenment. Each night, one story will unfold, carried on a soft voice, wrapped in calming rhythm, guiding you into rest and reflection. You can expect each story to be simple, soothing, and filled with meaning. Some nights we will meet animals, rabbits, monkeys, birds, deer creatures, whose lives may seem small, yet whose actions shine with great compassion. Other nights we will meet kings, queens, and sages, living in palaces or wandering in forests, learning the virtues of generosity, patience, or wisdom. The characters may change, but the heart of each tale remains the same. A lesson in kindness, a reminder of courage, a spark of truth to guide us. Each episode will begin gently, inviting you to breathe, to let go of the day, to prepare your heart for listening. The story will then flow slowly, like a lullaby for the mind. You do not need to stay alert or concentrate. In fact, you may find yourself drifting in and out of the words, sometimes catching the images clearly, sometimes letting them blur like dreams. This is the beauty of bedtime storytelling. You do not need to hold on tightly. The story itself will hold you. Some nights, you may fall asleep before the tale ends. This is perfectly fine. The purpose is not to finish the story, but to allow it to carry you into rest. Even if you sleep, the spirit of the tale continues to work within you, like a seed planted in the soil of your subconscious. When you wake, you may not recall every detail, but you may find your heart lighter, your patience deeper, your compassion softer. You can also expect variety. The Jataka Tales are many, over 500 in total, and each one reveals a different facet of the Bodhisattva's path. One story may teach the value of selflessness, another the power of truth, another the importance of patience. Together, they form a great mosaic, each piece adding to the picture of a life dedicated to awakening. Listening to them in sequence is like watching a flower bloom, petal by petal, until its full beauty is revealed. Some tales are short and simple, easy to follow even as you grow drowsy. Others are longer, with twists and turns that carry you deeper into imagination. But all are told slowly, softly, with space for your breath, your thoughts, your dreams. They are not meant to excite, but to soothe. They are not meant to burden, but to comfort. You may also notice that the stories echo across cultures. Though they began in India, they traveled to Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and beyond. In each place, they took on local colors, like water reflecting the sky. As we move through the series, you may hear hints of these different traditions: temple festivals in Thailand, murals in Sri Lanka, carvings in Cambodia. These echoes remind us that wisdom is universal, and that kindness is understood in every language. Each episode will also close with a moment of reflection, After the story, I will offer a gentle reminder of its lesson, not as a lecture, but as a whisper. You may hear words like, compassion is always possible. Patience brings peace. Truth frees the heart. These reflections are short, simple, and easy to carry into your dreams. They are like small lanterns you can hold as you drift into the night. Another thing you can expect is consistency. Each story will be told in the same soothing style, with a calm voice, slow pace, and quiet background. Over time, this consistency itself becomes comforting. Your body will begin to recognize the rhythm, and your mind will know. This is the time to rest, to listen, to let go. The stories will become part of your bedtime ritual, a gentle bridge between waking and sleep. And yet, even in their consistency, there will be discovery. Each night brings a new image, a new character, a new lesson. Perhaps one night you will hear of a deer who saves a hunter, and the next of a prince who gives away his kingdom. Perhaps one night the story will stir your heart with sadness, and the next with joy. In this way, the series is like a journey through a forest, familiar in its quiet, yet filled with surprises at every turn. The Jataka Tales are not only stories, but companions. You may find that certain tales stay with you, returning to your mind during the day. Perhaps the courage of the quail will inspire you to face a challenge. Perhaps the generosity of the rabbit will encourage you to give more freely. Perhaps the patience of the king will help you breathe through frustration. This is part of what you can expect, that the wisdom of the Jataka will gently weave itself into your life, not through force, but through presence. You may also notice a shift in how you sleep. Stories have power over the nervous system. They slow the breath, calm the heartbeat, quiet the racing mind. As you grow accustomed to hearing the Jataka tales at night, you may find sleep coming more easily, dreams becoming softer, mornings beginning with greater peace. This is not magic. It is the natural result of feeding the mind with gentleness instead of worry. Above all, you can expect kindness. These stories were told for centuries, not to frighten, not to control, but to comfort and guide. They are gifts of compassion, carried across generations, given freely. In this series, that same kindness is offered to you. Each word is chosen to soothe. Each pause is left to give you space. Each story is shared with the hope that you will rest well and awaken with peace. As you listen night by night, remember that you are walking the same path the Bodhisattva once walked. Each story is a step, each virtue a light. You do not need to walk quickly. You do not need to reach the end. The journey itself is the gift. The Jataka Tales are here to remind you that every step matters. Every act of kindness matters. Every breath matters. So what can you expect in this series? Expect simplicity. Expect gentleness. Expect stories that carry you like a lullaby into dreams. Expect lessons that linger in your heart, soft and steady. Expect connection to something timeless, something shared across cultures, something deeply human. Expect to rest, to breathe, to let go. And as you do, remember that you are part of a tradition older than memory, broader than borders, deeper than time. You are joining countless others who have listened before you, who have found comfort in these tales, who have allowed them to light the night. The Jataka Tales are here for you now, as they have been for so many, whispering softly, guiding gently, carrying you into peace. Part 10. An invitation to join the journey as you lie in stillness now. Your breath slow and deep, your body resting in its natural rhythm. Allow these words to come to you not as instructions, but as an invitation. You have heard of the Bodhisattva's many lives, his virtues, his sacrifices, his lessons. You have seen how these stories traveled across cultures, how they were painted in temples, sung in festivals, and whispered at night. And now, here you are, listening in your own quiet space. Tonight, I invite you to step fully into this journey, to join the path of the Jataka Tales. This invitation is simple. It does not ask you to believe in doctrines or to accept what feels distant. It asks only that you listen. Each night, when the day is done and the world grows quiet, allow yourself to rest in the stories. They are soft bridges, carrying you from wakefulness into dream, from worry into calm, from heaviness into ease. Think of this series as a companion. Just as travelers once sat around fires, listening to monks share these tales, you too now have a firelight within you. The glow of story will warm you, the rhythm of words will steady you, and the wisdom of the Buddha's past lives will guide you. You are not walking alone. Every listener before you, across centuries, has walked the same path. By listening, you join them. You become part of something larger, something timeless. The invitation is also to practice gently. You may find that the stories inspire you in small ways. Perhaps you give more freely, remembering the rabbit who offered himself. Perhaps you practice patience, recalling the king who endured with dignity. Perhaps you forgive, inspired by the Bodhisattva's compassion. These small acts are themselves steps on the path. You do not need to change everything at once. Like the Bodhisattva, you can grow gradually, one choice, one breath, one day at a time. Joining this journey also means allowing yourself rest. So often, we think of spiritual practice as hard work, as discipline, as striving. But the Jataka Tales remind us that rest, too, is sacred. To listen quietly, to breathe deeply, to fall asleep with compassion in your heart, this is practice. This is Dharma. This is the path of kindness turned inward, toward yourself. By accepting this invitation, you are saying yes not only to wisdom, but to rest, to peace, to care for your own spirit. Each story you hear will be a doorway. Some may open into joy, others into sadness, others into quiet reflection. You do not need to force meaning. Simply step through each doorway as it comes. Allow the story to speak in its own way. Sometimes the lesson will be clear. Sometimes it will linger in mystery, working gently in the background of your mind. Both are gifts. Both are part of the journey. This invitation is also about connection. In a world that often feels divided, these tales remind us of what unites us. Compassion, patience, truth, love. These are values that cross every border, every culture, every time. By listening, You connect with a vast human family. You join hands in spirit with children who heard these stories in India, with elders in Sri Lanka, with monks in Myanmar, with villagers in Thailand, with pilgrims in Cambodia. And now, with listeners around the world, you share the same breath, the same rhythm, the same rest as you join this journey. Know that it is not a race. There is no finish line, no test, no requirement. Each story is enough on its own, like a single pearl. Together they form a necklace, beautiful and complete, but each pearl still shines alone. You may listen to one tale or too many. You may fall asleep halfway through. You may return to a favorite story again and again. This is your journey, your path, your rhythm. The invitation is to join, not with pressure, but with openness. Imagine for a moment standing at the edge of a great forest. A path winds through the trees, soft with leaves, glowing with shafts of moonlight. You do not know how far it goes, or what you will find along the way. Yet you feel calm because you know the path is kind, safe, and full of gentle wonders. This is the path of the Jataka Tales. Each story is a step deeper into the forest. Each lesson is a light guiding you forward. You do not need to see the whole journey. You only need to take the next step. As you walk this path, you may find that the stories echo in your daily life. Perhaps you notice patience growing in moments that once stirred anger. Perhaps you feel compassion in places where before there was judgment. Perhaps you discover that you listen more, speak more gently, breathe more calmly. These changes are not forced. They arise naturally, like flowers blooming in spring. This is the quiet power of the Jataka Tales. They transform us without effort, simply by being heard, simply by being carried in the heart. This invitation is not only to listen, but to belong. You belong to this tradition now. You belong to the stream of wisdom that has flowed for centuries. You belong to the circle of listeners who have found comfort in these stories. And you belong to yourself, to your own heart, to the path of kindness that begins here. Tonight, as you hear these words, allow your breath to deepen. Feel the invitation settle not only in your mind but in your body. Your shoulders relax, your chest softens, your heart feels lighter. The path is open before you. You are welcome. You are held. You are guided. This is the invitation to listen, to rest, to join the journey of the Jataka Tales, to allow the stories to become companions, to allow their lessons to become whispers in your heart, to allow their rhythm to carry you into sleep. Each night you return, you take another step. Each night you listen, you plant another seed. Each night you rest, you practice the same virtues the Bodhisattva once practiced. And so, dear listener, I invite you now. Walk with me through these tales. Rest with me in their rhythm. Dream with me of forests, rivers, palaces, and skies where compassion shines brighter than stars. Let the Jataka Tales be your guide, your comfort, your gentle bridge from the busyness of the day into the peace of the night. Close your eyes fully now. Breathe softly. Know that you are part of this journey. The invitation has been given. You have already accepted, simply by listening. The stories await you, one by one, night by night, carrying you deeper into wisdom, deeper into peace, deeper into the quiet joy of rest. As our time together tonight draws to a close, let us pause and reflect on the path we have just walked. We have wandered through the ancient forests of India, where the Jataka Tales first blossomed. We have met the Bodhisattva in many forms: rabbit, monkey, bird, king, each one a mirror of courage, compassion, and truth. We have followed the stories across Asia, watching them take root in temples, festivals, carvings, and songs. And we have discovered why these tales are more than myths. They are living teachings, gentle companions, perfect for bedtime, calming the mind and opening the heart. What shines through all of this is simple. The Buddha's path to enlightenment was long, patient, and filled with love. He did not arrive at awakening in a single step, but through countless lives, practicing generosity, patience, wisdom, and compassion in every form. These stories are reminders that we, too, can walk the same path in our own small ways. Each act of kindness, each moment of patience, each breath of awareness is part of the journey. The Jataka Tales are not heavy lessons to be memorized. They are soft lanterns to be carried. They do not demand, they invite. They do not preach, they soothe. They remind us that goodness is always possible, that wisdom is always near, that compassion can always be chosen. And when told at night, in the quiet hours before sleep, they become more than teachings. They become lullabies for the soul. As you prepare to drift into dreams, let these stories rest in your heart. Do not cling to them or analyze them. Simply let them flow through you like a river of kindness. Trust that their lessons will settle where they are needed, gently, without effort. When you wake tomorrow, perhaps you will carry a little more patience, a little more compassion, a little more peace. This is the gift of the Jataka Tales, and it is the gift we will continue to explore together in this series. Each night will bring a new story, softly told, gently guiding you into rest. Some will inspire, some will comfort, some may even stir emotion. But all will remind you of the same truth, that within you lies the same potential for awakening, the same seed of wisdom, the same light of compassion. If these stories have touched you tonight, I invite you to continue this journey. Subscribe to this channel, Buddhism for Sleep, so you may join us for each new tale. Together, we will walk the path of the Jataka, not in haste, but in peace. Together, we will rest in the rhythm of story, in the quiet of the night, in the embrace of timeless wisdom. So close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let go. The Bodhisattva's journey is your journey. The Jataka Tales are now your companions. Rest well, and may your dreams be filled with compassion, wisdom, and peace.